Welcome to Feeling Seen, the podcast about the movies and the characters that make us feel seen. I'm Jordan Crucchiola. Today, I'm joined by the writer and director behind tons of great action cinema and television. She has directed episodes of Reacher and the forthcoming spin-off Neely. We cannot wait. She wrote and directed the cult horror film Death Watch, Solomon Kane, 2020's Rogue with Megan Fox, a personal favorite of mine, obviously, and her latest, Red Sonja, starring the ever-durable and go-for-it Matilda Lutz. She's brought a variety of characters to talk about today, from shape-shifting aliens and werewolves to human beings, like Trace Lissette's Monica in the 2022 film Monica, as well as Ji-wook in the 2014 Korean thriller Man on High Heels, a new discovery for me and one I highly recommend. When I spoke to MJ earlier this week, she was joining us from the UK, and what she shared about her makeshift recording studio and how she came to be there was too important to leave on the cutting room floor. So let's dive right into my conversation with MJ Bassett.
I live in a rental place at the moment because I've just come back to the UK. And so I'm going to move into I've just got a lovely 16th century cottage on the edge of Bath, which is going to be,
of course,
glorious.
The most English thing a person could ever say.
Well, honestly, my forever home was Topanga Canyon. It really was. I loved it there. And I'd spent the last sort of 3 years renovating a place. Uh-huh. And then the fires came and they stopped 100 yards from the house. And that was January. Uh-huh. Weirdly enough, I was in hospital having my final surgery at the time as well. So it was like a very fraught time.
Oh, God.
And then, and of course, then, in fact, at the same time as the inauguration for our Orange Friend happened.
So much at one time.
The same day that as I was having my surgery, he then invalidated me as a human being with an executive order. I spent a couple of months recovering, and then my job was in Canada. My next job was in Canada, so I went to Toronto to work. And then while I was there, my immigration lawyer said, "Yeah, you can't ever come home. You won't get across border."
Is it because you're a trans visa holder? Like, would that have been the?
Well, because my green card says female, which I was just I was so thrilled about when it came through. I recognize, it took me a long time to get the green card, and, I plan to make America my forever home, and I love Topanga, and it was just the most perfect place for me. And then, my green card, which said this thing that I'd always aspired to have, suddenly became the thing that was going to take me down, because they said they won't recognize it. You may get through legally, completely. The contract you have with America is this, but that's not recognized anymore. So do you want to roll the dice? And I didn't want to roll the dice being taken to a facility, which would be a male facility. Mm-hmm. And so that's it. I said, my family's, my kids are here, and it's not, as I said, I'm going to rent a 16th century cottage to live in. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But when you feel like you found your place, the creative community, the artistic community, I used to like to bike down to the beach every morning and have coffee and do some writing, and life is different. And listen, I know a bunch, the trans and non-binary certainly my younger friends are very much up, they're very angry, they're up in arms, and I'm like old and moderate, and I've lived through a lot of stuff, nothing like this. And at some point you go, well, maybe there's a way to, I don't want to be antagonistic, not because I'm scared. I've been all over the world, and as a trans woman, and I've been to, Kenya, where it's illegal to be gay still, and I've been to Morocco and Jordan, and I've had interactions with people who should be against me, and I've never had anything but kindness and acceptance, right, on a one-on-one basis. The kind of the macro vision of this country, this society should be horrible to me because that's that's defined in some political stance. But when you go, obviously I go first of all, I go to the white person who brings work. Sure. Right? Which is a position of privilege even as a trans person, right? So generally people, whatever they say behind my back, I don't know. Sure. Right? But to me, they're great, and I felt much more ill at ease in the US where I was making my home. And coming back to the UK, by the way, it's not a bed of roses right now. There's lots of pushback against certain minorities, but it's much more to do with the fact that it's not about us. It's not about how you choose to live your life. Nobody's taking it. I mean, I completely support the idea that, cis women should have safe space, but don't take it from us because your problem isn't trans women, it's men. Right? And so it's slicing the problem up and finding that, okay, the root cause is funds being funded from, Christian nationalism, wherever it may rise, to propagate certain political views because people want power. So it's all kind of that shit. And it's just still, I just want to wear a frock and look pretty and have my life. That's all I want.
Well, this will bridge us into talking about, like, you provided so many options for characters that you said you would connect to.
Yeah.
But I feel like what I was thinking so much about them in their breath was this contrast between sort of reactive feeling characters and proactive feeling characters, where you mentioned sort of werewolf movies, which feels like a broad touch point for queer folks watching horror cinema. That notion of like the beast within that has to burst out. And I feel like there is often a lot of kind of shame associated with sort of like this ugly thing inside me versus like watching a Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, which is something you also said you had felt a resonance with. And Sister Hyde is unrepentant and is seductive. And when Dr. Jekyll assumes the persona of Sister Hyde, she's feeling herself. Like that first transformation where she's looking in the mirror, realizing what Dr. Jekyll has accomplished to become Sister Hyde, and she's touching her body and she's cackling madly. I was so interested in the contrast
every evening
between...
looking in the mirror now.
That contrast between the sort of bigness of genre characters and formats that you had connected to, and more interior characters like Trace Lysette in her independent film Monica, and the South Korean film that I'd never heard of that you mentioned, Man on High Heels.
And I hadn't heard of it either. I was sent it as a possible remake.
It's on Tubi, everybody. You can widely access this movie on Tubi. So I wanted to hear from you about the contrast between the bigness and forthrightness of some of these characters being so brash or loud, and then the stillness and the very, like, the sort of calm, maybe introverted interiority of some of the ones that you had said you related to.
Well, okay. So first of all, I need to unpick the brief that you gave me to sort of fully understand, right? So it was, all I got was characters that made you feel seen.
Sure.
My first problem is that I'm a trans woman, right? And I came out very late in life, 45 or something when I came out. So, and I'm fully transitioned and I live my life, and I've been married for 32 years, together 34 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Adult children. I'm a grandparent now. Okay, so, but for most of my life, I lived as a cis white male, and assuming that identity. Deeply, deeply ashamed of who I felt I really was and what I really wanted out of life. So every character that made me feel seen, I ran a million miles from. So that list I gave you also has Tyler Durden from Fight Club.
Yes.
Right? Because, and I don't know if there's a chronology to this, right? So the difficulty is that I don't know what you want to pick it out in, but having somebody as a trans person, there's nothing about the Fight Club that really should speak to me as a trans woman, except it completely spoke to me in the illusory guise of a cis white man. And that was the world I existed in. Right. So I hang out with a lot of fighters and soldiers and tough guys. Yeah. And was acutely aware of the disaster that was unfolding with men in the last 20 odd years.
This kid from work, Ricky, couldn't remember whether you ordered pens with blue ink or black. But Ricky was a god for 10 minutes when he trounced the maitre d' of a local food court. Sometimes all you could hear were the flat, hard packing sounds over the yelling. Or the wet choke when someone caught their breath and sprayed. You weren't alive anywhere like you were there. But Fight Club only exists in the hours between when Fight Club starts and when Fight Club ends. Even if I could tell someone they had a good fight, I wouldn't be talking to the same man. Who you were in Fight Club is not who you were in the rest of the world. A guy came to Fight Club for the first time, his ass was a wad of cookie dough. After a few weeks, he was carved out of wood.
And one of the reasons we have the problems we have right now is because men don't know who they are and don't know what to do with themselves. And they have this terrible conflict within them about, the inherent natural instincts of what it is to be a man and what the purpose of the kind of on a purely biological level to be a man and what society expects from you and all those things, right? So I related to that as an intellectual, but also, I'd absorbed that I was born a male, right? That's whether I wanted it or not, sort of I got a brain that didn't fit my body, but I lived in that space. So, not just Tyler, but the narrator, Edward Norton's character, and also Chuck Palahniuk's actual novel.
Yeah,
I completely understood that. So I felt very seen by that in one way. But then you have the man on high heels thing, or any trans character. So, Transparent you watch on TV. The moment that came on, I turned it off. Right? It's like, I'm not partly because why would a cis man watch that nonsense, right? So I was hiding from everybody. So, and this is why I also understand why closeted people can be terribly aggressive to the group that they wish they belonged to. Right? And I think we can speak to lots of we can see it in public life, how hatred and violence is perpetrated against, let's just say trans women, but it works against any small minority group, but trans women especially, with the victims of horrific violence. And a lot of it's because people are ashamed of who they truly are, or some men being violent towards other gay men because they really want to express themselves, but they can't. So, and that's COD psychology, of course, I know that, and everything's more nuanced, but I totally understand that sense of not vilifying and hating, but running away from something like that, because it's awful. The feeling, it's all the Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, right? I watched it. It's like a crappy Hammer horror movie. Crappy, I apologize, but it is, right?
In this film, you will actually see the sinister Dr. Jekyll change in mind and body into the totally evil Sister Hyde.
It is I who exist, Dr. Jekyll, not you. It is I who will be rid of you. Rid of you! Rid of you!
Hammer invites you to share the agony of a man whose body is possessed by a strange passion to murder and beyond.
So it's not a good movie in any respect, but the notion of transitioning from male to female so easily and becoming and seeing yourself in a mirror and realizing that's who you truly are or who you truly can be. And obviously, Sister Hyde transitions to an evil woman.
Yes,
maybe that's me. You're also read into the characters way too much, right? The bigness and the smallness and the interiority and none of that mattered to me. It was simply transformation, which is why I put werewolf movies, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not the beast within, it's the ability of flesh to become something different. Right? My transness was entirely about my physical body, right? I was comfortable with my mind. The flesh drove me crazy, right? And I didn't know what to do about it. And so I watch, like Ginger Snaps is an amazing horror movie, and American Werewolf in London is my kind of touchstone.
Sure.
Right? But it's a man who transforms into a male werewolf. And obviously, one of the stories I want to tell is a trans woman who transitions into a werewolf, but transitions into a male werewolf, but because that's fundamentally what is part of her genetic makeup, and the railing against that horror of returning to a form. It's like if I woke up in the morning and returned to my maleness, I would be utterly horrified, right? Because the journey to get to me has been so painful, right? So it's one of those things where, I was trying to fulfill your brief, and at the same time kind of explore my own psychology a little bit more.
God, what a best case scenario for us.
But I, so again, right? So I put on the list. There's a TV show that I was growing up with, made by Jerry Anderson, called Space 1999.
I did want to hear more about this. I wanted to hear about Space 1999. Okay,
so I must have been like 6 or 7, or I can't. I was very young, right? And this is great. It's one of those like, let's remake this kind of thing. But the idea is that something there's a moon base Alpha, and Martin Landau plays the captain of this moon base. And the moon base, I believe, is like hit by a meteorite and it's getting knocked out of Earth's orbit. So ultimately, the moon is now its own like satellite drifting through space. Fine. But they pick up an alien called Maya, played by Catherine Schell. Anyway, the alien character had this ability to transform one creature to another. Right? And that's all I ever wished for.
What do you think of these Alphans, Maya?
I like them, Father. They're very attractive, aren't they? Quite unlike any of the others.
They obviously come from a culture similar to our own. But, not so advanced, of course.
Would I make a good Alphan, Father?
Stop it, Maya. I teach you the priceless art of molecular transformation and see how you use it. Foolish games.
Oh, Father, you only taught me because you knew I'd eventually master the art myself.
True. You are clever, Maya. But one day we must find a better outlet for your gifts.
I'd help you in your work if you'd let me.
Oh, no. There is a great deal about the work that I do that you do not understand as yet.
Oh, Father.
Not yet.
So, she was a beautiful woman, an exotic alien character. And then, but she could just kind of visualize and just become they could only afford 3 costumes, so it was the same creatures every time I seen it. But it was a transformation in the same way that when I watched Saturday morning cartoons, there was, I think it was Arabian Nights or something, some Saturday morning cartoon. There was a character that could size of a mouse and would become a mouse and would become other things. And it was just that desperate need to be able to kind of wish myself into other forms. Mm-hmm. No, because I never articulated this to anybody ever for 45 more years.
Yeah, wow.
But that's what, the thing. It's flesh transforming. It's all horrifying and it's not right and it's not what I wanted. But that notion that it's possible to change bodies.
In that case, the possibility of horrific transformation is preferable to the status quo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Give me anything other than what I've got. But I have to also be very careful because I can't invalidate the entirety of my previous existence.
Right.
Because I have family and children and, people who love me. And there was moments of great happiness in that previous life, the previous iteration of me, even though every morning there was okay.
Yeah.
And then one day it was, I can't do this anymore. Mm-hmm. Right. And everybody comes to that transitional moment at different, some people are lucky enough to maybe do it very young. I have friends who transition very young. Mm-hmm. And I've lived a life fully, medically, happily, invisibly. Mm-hmm. Right? I didn't get to do that, right? You can look me up and you can just see, the entirety of my life online. It's like I can't hide who I was, so it's ridiculous to do that. But I would also contest that the notion that anybody would choose to do this for what I've done anyway. Mm-hmm. It's like, just it's a whim. Mm-hmm. It's not a whim.
I love whims that are going to make everything harder.
But God bless you. If you're a dude who likes to dress in women's clothes and go that cross-dress and you get go with God. I got no pushback against that. But it's so different from the experience of just feeling just so wrong. It's like walking every day with a couple of stones in your shoes. It's just wrong. Mm-hmm. So we're not talking about movies, so...
No. And do you find that in like, being a public figure and making things like your work is something that exists in the public record, like people can go back to it from any point in your life and see the thing that you made. Do you find that in thinking of your prior work, is there a sort of betrayal of a true interior perspective that you perhaps were not putting out there overtly because you could not at that time?
Completely, okay. Right? Okay. So creatively, I was never fulfilled at all, right? I was never able to have that conversation with the audience. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I'm a pretty commercially minded filmmaker, right? So
sure, yeah.
I'm not going to, like the audience doesn't want to have that conversation with me. I'm not that kind of storyteller, right? So, sure. And if I could roll a dice, I would always tell a story like Rogue or Endangered Species or Red Sonja, which are environmental stories. They're environmental messages at their heart over, woe is me, I'm an unhappy trans person, right? So because there are other filmmakers to do that. And one of the reasons I put Monica on my list with Trace Bassett is partly that's my own lived experience in as much as my mother doesn't really know who I am. So Trace Bassett is absolutely fantastic in this little indie movie called Monica, right?
As you saw, she was pretty confused.
She was.
I hope it's okay with you that I didn't try to explain to her who you are.
No, come, it's fine.
I just thought, that was probably an important moment for you guys. I didn't want to take that away from you. I don't know what I would do if I couldn't be with my own mom at a moment like this, so that's why I wanted to call you.
So the story is Trace is estranged from her elderly mother who has senility issues, and she's transitioned while she was away and returns home to nurse her elderly mother, and the mother doesn't recognize her because it's not the son that she had. But there's this gentleness, and obviously, Trace playing Monica is struggling with that. But that, again, that's my lived experience. So it's not that I felt seen particularly. I just thought, oh my God, I'm doing that with my own mother right now.
Yeah.
So when I go and visit my mom, she knows that she loves me, and she knows, but she introduced me to some nurses as her daughter-in-law.
Okay.
For me, it was like, well, okay, how do I feel about this? So I'm not her child directly anymore. She recognizes my femininity and that I'm obviously a loved person,
right?
But not a child anymore. Like I said, and I felt, well, how do I feel about that? Because I was like, oh my God, my mom knows I'm a girl, but no, it just,
yeah.
But you lose that as well.
She didn't recognize me.
Well, did you expect her to? When are you going to tell her? Or are you going to tell her?
I don't know.
No, I was thinking about that watching Monica, of just like, what is the chasm between perhaps a sense of reflexive validation or relief that you're being recognized as a woman by this person who doesn't recognize you as their own child. Mm-hmm. And you left perhaps because they didn't recognize you as their own child, like no son of mine kind of thing. Yeah. But like there has to be that. I was thinking like there must be some sort of duality of like how horrible this is, but then like a validation of what it represents.
Completely. But the thing is, that's the entirety of my adult life. So, the duality of that existence that's what I walk down the road. Not anymore, because I completely, I'm fully transitioned. I'm medically transitioned as in every way that I wanted to be. I could do with a bit of face work, I think, but other than that, I'm fine.
That just makes you a modern Hollywood woman right there.
Exactly, right?
I hear they're doing great things with facelifts these days.
You betcha, I'm on the list. It was interesting because when I tell my kids who I was and I came out to them, and they were like, well, you do anything you want, but please don't mess with your face, because we want to. They're already losing that version of their parent, which is, and I don't want to talk about my kids too much because it's their story, but it's still the notion of. It's like I would definitely like to make my nose a little bit smaller and my and then the brow and all the stuff that you want to do, but I don't need to do it particularly, right? I think I moved through the world as I transitioned straight into a post-menopausal middle-aged woman. So figuring out how you feel about yourself and how you want to be seen through the world, how you want to move through the world, right? So that's kind of when you look at something like Monica, which I think is a really amazing movie, and I do wish they'd had more money and support for Trace to get a bigger push.
Yeah,
I really do. It's very low key performance, right? We live in that real indie space, but she's beautiful and she does some very brave things in that film. And it's not that I felt seen because I'm watching a trans woman, but I felt, oh God, this is my story, a little tiny piece of my story with my mom. What other movies do we want to talk about?
I would love to hear, like, Man on High Heels. Like you said, it got like brought to you as like a remake, kind of like you do.
Yeah. So there was. Okay,
how did you like? Tell me how that came to you, and then sort of your response to the first watch.
Okay, so there's this movie. It's a Korean movie. It's called Man on High Heels. I don't know what the Korean title is, I'm afraid, but so it's called Man on High Heels. I'd never heard of it, but it was brought to me as a potential remake. Obviously, you get. Come out as a trans person, there's only 2 or 3 working kind of commercial trans directors.
Right.
who do any kind of action. I mean, me and the Wachowskis, basically.
Good company.
Oh, I'll take that company. I don't know them, but I'll take the company. There's lots of very good trans directors out there, but I tend to specialize in smashing shit up, and I'm very good at that.
Sure.
And the Wachowskis operate on a completely different budget level to me, so I'm in the indie space. But I was given this movie to watch, and I wasn't sure what to make of it, and I watched it, and it's got this weird. So it's about a badass Korean police detective who's known for taking down gang members. Everyone looking, he's tough as they come, right? And it's this kind of noir-y, and it has slightly surreal feel to it. But this cop is about to retire because he's going to retire because he wants to transition. Right? So deep inside this person, who's the very epitome of masculinity, is a whole other person desperate to get out but doesn't know how to get out. And in the course of the movie, the more I talk about it, I really should go back and really do this remake. The kind of a gang war starts up again, and this cop has to choose to sort of park the notion of transition to go and do what's right. But the secret comes out. But also he goes and sees kind of sisters in the trans world who have all been, hated and live in this kind of underclass system and have illegal surgeries and hooky hormones and things. And he has to make a choice, or she has to make a choice about who to be and how to survive this. And I was sent this thing, and I was just profoundly hit by this, because one of the way I lived my life was as a supremely alpha kind of guy.
Well, in the space that you operate in, it seems like that would kind of lend itself to that personality being shaped.
Totally. It was the notion was this: is I thought, and I wasn't a good person particularly, but it was the notion of, if I have to be a man, what kind of man should I be?
Yeah.
And I wanted to be tough because I thought that was a thing, and I've had lots of fights in my life, and I wanted to be a parent. I wanted to be a father. I wanted to be a mother, but that wasn't the role I was given. So I wanted to be a parent. I was a parent very young, when I was 20. And I found I was with my partner when I was very young, and we're still together. And she rode this whole crazy journey with me. And I just want to say, an aside, when I came out to her, she said, "Love is love." And that's it. That's the most important sentence anybody's ever uttered to me in my life, I think. Right? And she said, "I just wanted you to be honest with me, and we can fix it."
Yeah.
I just said, how far do you want to transition? I was like, I just want to get some frosting in my hair and an earring.
Just grow it out long, really.
Just grow out a little bit. And but sorry about that. But this guy at the heart of Man on High Heels, the cop, who everybody looked to be a man. What you make the decisions, you're the tough guy, and inside, not a guy at all.
Yeah.
Or again, the whole what I liked about the movie was that it.
And he's really there's active, explicit, he's a man. He's a real man, and he's fetishized by other men.
Completely fetishized by I love how you got that. Completely fetishized by other man as what it is to be a man, and it completely isn't. Right now, I'm not saying I'm that, but I was definitely. I could walk into a room of, soldiers, Navy SEALs and Deltas and Marines who I hung out with, and I love these men, right? I love these guys because on the whole, they completely know who they are. They're comfortable with their gender, and they don't give a shit whether you're a gay or straight, right? They're just like, okay, it's fine. We don't care, right? Because mostly the pushback comes from people who are insecure.
Yeah.
Fully secure masculine man is great. I love them, right?
Yeah.
And I still like to work with them, and I have worked with them. I didn't, again, when I came out, it was like I called my arty friends, in the media. I said, "Oh, darling, I'm trans." And they're like, "Oh, I'm so happy for you," right?
Yeah.
And I went through and then I went to "Oh, shit, I got to call some Navy SEALs now." Right? And a couple of UFC fighters. Right? And say, "Hey, guys, I got something to say." And they were like, "Are you happy?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they went, "Great." And a couple of them were like, "Hey, wherever you are in the world, you got a problem, give us a call. We can get somebody there."
What an insane thing to be told.
Right?
Because it's not like, if anybody hurts you, I'll kill it. Like, somebody like that saying that is like, that's actually literally true.
Yeah,
That's not metaphorical. It's not like an emotional like package statement of support. It's hey, you let me know and we gotta go.
I love these guys. I love these guys, right? I mean, some of them are like, you and killing us, right? There was like a lot of that. But I'm also British, so I mock it. I don't care, right?
Yeah.
One of my daughters still has me in her contacts book. I come up on the phone as the tranny. Right?
You English and your humor.
Well, you got to laugh at it. It's ridiculous, right? There's an absurdity to this whole thing, which you just got to embrace. Otherwise, you go mad, right? Because you can't take it too seriously. I mean, it's an incredibly serious thing to do, but at the same time, if you lose your humor, you lose your humanity.
Right.
But anyway, back to Man on High Heels.
Yeah.
Which is not a funny movie, by the way.
It's not. There are great moments of dry kind of comedy from Yoon being so like stoic of words.
It's
very deadpan. The whole
very...
like guy breaks into your house, like, and I love like observing the cultural custom like overriding a crime being committed. Like there's where a gangster breaks into this cop's house and is sitting and watching. He's like, I'm gonna meet this guy. Broken into his house, like I'm gonna stay. Might as well like for the trouble. Puts on the house slippers. And Yoon has to knock on his own door, which has a chain on it. The gangster lets Yoon into his own home. And then you see like a wide shot. This guy is a breaking and entering. And they both have put on their house slippers.
Yes.
And I was like, listen, some things override even the breaking and entering and threats against your life and shakedowns.
Completely. Politeness is everything. But it's really interesting that little subplot. Because what it reveals, and I have no idea what I hope and think it was true. Obviously, Yoon is the cop character, right? Is deep in his own turmoil of wanting to come out and transition and be able to leave her life to be who she wants to be. And this gangster is weirdly attracted to the cop, right? And the gangster's dealing with his own feeling, which hence the hating what you want to be kind of thing. Is he gay? And what's the relationship? But because the thing is gayness and transness, though they live in the same space, they're very different things.
Yeah.
So I never considered myself gay at all. I was always trans, and I guess I live in the queer space. I'm happily now, but I'm also terribly, terribly, terribly ashamed of all these feelings for my whole life, which was what Yoon feels, this cop character, right? So this is why I think of all the movies I've ever seen. Which makes me feel seen. This is the one, because I haven't thought about it for 2 or 3 years since just the remake just didn't go anywhere, and I think there's probably no appetite. And also I'm very reluctant to make trans stories, right? Because if I don't want to make trans stories for trans people particularly. I want to make a story which allows you to have a conversation about something really interesting. And Man on High Heels, for me, as a possible remake, is a conversation about what the hell it is to even be a man. Right? And you're going to get a lot of pushback on that, but I think that was what I always questioned. What are the values of masculinity? I mean, there's the chromosomal biological maleness. And, the binary is a conversation we could have another time, but it's society's demands on the genders. You must be this, and the roles have changed so many times over the centuries as well. So when I was growing up as a little kid, looking to the women in the 70s and 80s who were my secret role models, right, and aspiring to, I still some 70s fascists, like, okay, but really always wanted to wear those those boots. So that's what I'm a little bit 70s now, So it's figuring out through media and through iconography that you grow up with. Who you are and what you want to be, and then to finally get to that point late in life where you go, okay, now you got it, girl. This is it. You got everything you ever asked for.
Right.
And I have. Right. I mean, I'm living a life that I never, ever, ever expected to live. I thought when I came out I would lose my family, and I haven't. I mean, it was fraught. I'm not going to pretend it was easy. And there are people who don't and still don't understand, and it's fine. But none of them are unkind. But I know older trans girls who have come out and they do lose everything. So I need to be very careful about celebrating my success
Sure.
I never expected to live in Hollywood and make movies and television. I don't live there anymore for political reasons. But, I had that for one fleeting moment. I had literally everything I ever wanted and dreamed of in my life.
God.
It went by like a kind of autumn leaf, right? Oh, it's blown away, right? It's gone now. But for a moment it was there, and, stick a fork in me, I'm done.
I'm sorry because it shouldn't have been the autumn leaf. I mean, a
lot of people are in a lot worse situations than me.
Sure.
Right. That's really the truth. And I'm moderately successful. I'm loved. I'm who I am. And I get to do things like this.
It's time for a break, but I will be right back with MJ Bassett. And then at the end, I will have one quick thing before I go about my favorite piece of news that I saw this week, which involves Terrence Stamp and the sequel to The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. So stick around for that at the very end.
Hey, it's Sue the subway train. Hey, guess what, Sue? I just inherited a game show, and I have to continue it because there are people out there who like to curl up into a ball and listen to it. Yeah, it's a podcast where listeners submit game show ideas for others to play on air. Well, it is. In fact, the dumber the better. Right. It's called Dr. Game Show. Some curled up balls consider it a tradition, while others call it a train wreck. No, not you, Sue. It's Dr. Game Show. If you're the sort that likes to listen to people competing for refrigerator magnets, then curl up into a ball and listen to Dr. Game Show every other Wednesday, MaximumFun.org.
Are you a 5-star baddie? If you answered yes, then Black People Love Paramore is the podcast for you. Contrary to the title, we are not a podcast about the band Paramore. Black People Love Paramore is a pop culture show about the common and uncommon interests of Black people in order to help us feel a little bit more seen. We are your co-hosts, Sequoia Holmes,
Jewel Wicker,
and Ryan Graham.
And in each episode, we dissect one pop culture topic that mainstream media doesn't associate with the Black people, but we know that we like.
We get into topics like ginger ale, the Golden Girls, Black romance, Uno, and so much more.
Tune in every other Thursday to the podcast that's dedicated to helping Black people feel more seen. Find Black People Love Paramore on MaximumFun.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Watching Man on High Heels, I was so impressed at points by some of its incredibly incisive observations about to be a woman. When Yoon is speaking to sort of the woman who's gonna kind of take him toward, like, put him in connection with where he needs to be to get his operations. And she's this fabulous, gaudy madam type. Yes. And she's talking to him about, like, what it is to, like, what it really is to be a lady in the world. And I wrote down this quote of, she talks about, like, people will stare at you. And she says, take in those stares. And when you become numb to them, you're a real woman.
Fantastic line, right?
Fucking wow. Like, yeah. Like that kind of observation, that kind of to live surveilled, that you just internalize so you can get shit done during the day. Like, so you're not like preoccupied with the notion of being watched. Especially Eunice Hall. Eunice is striking, in a high heel. They're probably 6'6". So, like, this is a beautiful 6'6" woman. You're going to, like, I'm gonna be like, whoa. But once you become numb to that, that's like a threshold you pass into being like, now you're a woman in the world. And that was one of my favorite lines I think I've ever heard, especially being delivered by this gaudy madam.
Yeah. Well, because the other thing, the great thing about them, first of all, it's a beautiful movie. I mean, as a piece of filmmaking, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
My daughters, who are both beautiful, can't go to a cis nightclub without being hassled.
Absolutely.
Right? So they'll go to a queer or a gay space because they want to be invisible. They want to just be themselves.
Just want to have a night out. Just want to have fun.
Right. So me, because I'm still kind of baby woman in many, many ways, right? I still crave the affirmation of, because if I get a catcall or somebody says something to me, That's an affirmation that I present as female in the world.
Yeah,
which
you
is
did it. You did it today.
I did it. It's incredibly shallow. I know that it's shallow. Well, it is. And more now, I'm happy to just be, again, because I'm older, right? So nobody looks at old women anyway, right? But it's that if I just pass in the sense that nobody looked at me, nobody registered me at all in the world today, I know I'm safe because it's become different, right? So a lot of trans girls, again, I won't speak for the trans community, but it's like my understanding of my experience is a lot of trans girls, we overly feminize ourselves in terms of our presentation because you want to go, I am a woman, I am female, I am giving all the visual cues that society demands of a woman, right? Now, if you give those cues, but also you get outed as trans, suddenly you're in a dangerous red zone, which I don't think we lived in previously. And I think that's getting more and more. It's like, oh, we want to be invisible now, or we want to present only in safe spaces.
Right.
So it's like the safe space argument for cis women, the safe space argument for trans women, and trans masc is slightly different. They have a different set of presentational problems, right? But it's very. I mean, the world is it's shifting. So 6 months ago, maybe these comments wouldn't even be valid. But certainly looking into the US and thinking, oh, this is a terrifying situation if you're trans. And moving back to the UK, which absolutely presents its own problems as well. But because I'm a UK citizen and I have rights to be here, whereas I had no rights to be in America, it's like, I will fight for that.
Yeah. I read you talking about, I'm a hard driver on set. You were like, I give no quarter. And you got to be in it with me. We're all, these are independent budgets and we are all pulling together to grit our teeth and make these things. And I wanted to know if you have found, is the role of director and your inclination toward being a hard driver on set, is the sort of you as professional entity something that is sort of encased apart from how you have presented in your prior life and now offset? Or has it changed how you lead? Has it changed how you work on set at all?
No, it's totally changed how I lead.
Fascinating. Okay.
It's totally, well, partly because the thing is, it gave me, and this is part of the problem with masculinity or how men are expected to behave. Coming out gave me permission to access part of my emotional self, which I had always felt I couldn't share. And the empathic side, and by the way, I mean, a lot of men listening to this will just say, well, you could have done that all along, right? Your idea of what it was to be a man was an incorrect idea of what it was to be a man. And I can think that's completely valid criticism, right? But the illusion I created for myself was this tough mother, right? And you get to do this thing and nothing is scary and get in there, and that was it. And the empathic side, I tried, but it was sort of not part of the package of the character that I'd made for myself. This amazing piece of method acting, which I was sustaining. And then the moment, again, I talked to my partner, my wife, is that the day she said, the day after you came out, your posture changed, your body language changed, everything about you changed, because I could just it was like cutting some strings that had been holding me, right? I walked different, I moved different. I mean, part of this because I had permission to do all these things.
Yeah.
Now, and to your point, I am still a tough director in terms of we're going on this ride together, and I would never ask an actor, any version of me would never ask an actor to do something that I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
We're jumping out of a plane, I'm jumping out of a plane, right? We're jumping in a river, it's freezing cold. Do that, I'll get swept down an African river with you, it's fine, I'll do that. I mean, partly because that's what I like about filmmaking, right? I don't want to go to a blue studio and stand there for 6 months and put the backgrounds in afterwards. I want to be in a real space.
I read you talking about how there's a fight among a forest fire that happens in Red Sonja that is, you staged an actual forest fire from a constructed forest set that you rigged up with gas lines. And that's actual fucking fire that they're fighting amongst.
Yeah, no CG. There's a sequence which is we're in, and we spent multiple nights standing in the middle of a burning forest, and it was real. But because I can point the camera anywhere there, right? So that gives me the complete freedom to be. And Matilda, we can put Matilda Lutz in her kind of chainmail armor and a bikini. And by the way, I'm also reining thousands of liters of rain onto the fire, and the special effects guy went, "Well, isn't the rain going to put the fire out?" I guess, "Yeah, but it's going to look amazing."
Yeah, as long as we have it, it's going to look great.
As long as it's going to be good. So it was that, but now, obviously, I'm much more acutely aware of the pressures on an actress, how to look and how to be, right? And so that kind of makes me much more. So my empathy is there, but also all the time that kind of subtextual notion of being at the point of the spear of filmmaking. You know, so that's kind of what changed with me a little bit. I'm happy to be that. I'm much happier to be that person since I cry. You know, I cry more easy, but that's partly because I'm loads of hormones, right? So my brain has changed as well as the brain chemistry changes, right?
Yeah.
So and I embrace all of those things. I embrace the kind of multifaceted aspect of me, and the kind of I'm pleased to be here. You know.
I've read interviews of you talking about the kind of sense of fulfillment in making things that feel personally message-wise more connected to you. Like you're talking about Rogue and that the notion of like conservation in the natural world and that. And the same thing in Red Sonja. This is a story of a community, a group protecting kind of first and foremost their forest home and this tyrannical entity that seeks to lay waste to it. And obviously we have Megan Fox in one, and we have Matilda Lutz as the iconic Red Sonja in your newest film. I wonder what protagonists you're most interested in at the moment, like going on past Red Sonja, and also sort of what openings genre gives you to explore in a way that you have found fulfilling in your career, to sort of make a career around it.
Oh, what a really interesting question. Okay, I'm interested in women's strength, right? Obviously because I've explored male strength and male physicality, and so with Matilda, what I was really interested in was having an actress who had the physical strength and the power and the violence, the capacity for violence. But I
love Matilda Lutz. She lives her beautiful life in like Italy, and then she pops up in these fucked crazy genre movies where she is covered in blood, swinging a sword at like the hands of a death cult. Like she goes all out when she goes out.
She does. She really is. And what I loved about Matilda, one of the reasons I cast her, and I met lots of actresses who had physical power, but what she had, I mean, she's a mother, right? So she had this maternity to her. And she had humor and warmth and empathy. And ultimately, if you watch Red Sonja, it finishes on empathy and not violence. Right? And that was incredibly important to me. And I think one thing the characters I'm interested in, I suppose, will be those who have physical power, but also this kind of maternity and this empathy. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to be women, because I think, paternal power and the strength of the father, that was explored a lot more, is also very interesting. Anybody who has empathy, anybody who understands that, okay, vulnerability and violence happen at the same time.
Right.
There's that, and there's the value of it. So, I mean, I suppose as I'm more comfortable with myself, doing something like Man on High Heels will be much more interesting to me because I can be honest about who I am and I can be honest about the conversation. So I could literally do the interview. Now, I couldn't have done the interview about Man on High Heels 10 years ago.
Right.
Right? What do I say?
Yeah.
Right? And when I made this movie called Solomon Kane, which was just, I'm very proud of this movie. It's a fantasy picture. James Purefoy is the lead and he plays this kind of Puritan warrior. And that's a redemption story about a doomed man who's struggling with his religion. And I'm also interested in faith and belief systems as well, right? Now, when I finished Kane, Solomon Kane was a character created by Robert E. Howard, who also created Conan and was involved in the creation of Red Sonja. When I finished Kane, everyone said, we guess you want to do Conan next. And I was like, no, I want to do Sonja. And they're like, why the hell do you want to do Red Sonja? Right? And only now does it make sense. Right? That I had this character in my mind to get to. I wanted to get to Sonja because I wanted to do a powerful woman. And one of the things I always loved about James Cameron and his writing, because he's created two incredibly, or he didn't create Ripley, but, refined Ripley as this Ellen Ripley.
Really made Ripley the warrior as opposed to a final girl.
But the maternal warrior. That was the thing that he did.
Get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah, little Newt being protected. And obviously in the extended Aliens cut, we find a lot more about the daughter who grew old and died while she was away. But the notion that this warrior woman and the maternal aspect. And the same with Linda Hamilton, Sarah Connor, the maternal power. But when Cameron writes women, he doesn't write women, he just writes characters. And that's got to be the way ahead. I can't write women. I don't know how to do that because I only know how to write me. Like I lump myself in the feminine box, and there are plenty of people who will say, you're not a woman, forget it, you're a man, and that's how life ends. Like, okay, well, thank you very much for that, right? Mm-hmm. But I don't know what it is like to be a woman. I don't know what your lived experience of being a woman is, any more than I know what the lived experience of being a man is, right? Mm-hmm. I pretended both roles, some would say, right? And all I got out of that was knowing how to be me.
Pretty good. I mean, I can't do better. I can't do better than that with any, like, I think that's the perfect wrapping up sentiment. This exceeded any expectations I could have had of how delightful it would be to talk to you. You're quite the orator, I will say. You have a real way of telling a story, of winding a stem. And MJ Bassett, thank you so much for coming on the show and for your time. And Red Sonja is extremely fun, and it has one of my favorite heartthrobs, Rona Mitra, in it, in a small but meaningful
powerful
role.
That's a warrior woman right there.
She has been on the show, and there are a few times when I feel like my nerves were present enough to stumble me up a few times. I think it did happen when I was.
Rona takes no prisoners.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. This has been wonderful.
It's lovely, Jen. Thank you for inviting me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much to MJ Bassett. Honestly, that was one of my favorite episodes we've ever done. Red Sonja is available to rent on pretty much any VOD platform. And you can also check out the show notes for links to where you can watch some of the titles we discussed today. Extremely grateful to MJ. This was a dream. Thank God for that. And now, that one quick thing before I go. I mentioned it before, Terrence Stamp, the recently passed Terrence Stamp, and some news that broke this week that before his passing, right near the end of his life, Terrence Stamp shot scenes reprising his role as Bernadette in the classic gay Australian film, The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, about two drag queens played by Hugo Weaving and Guy Pearce, and their trans sister taking their act on the road and performing, smash hits with robust glee and costumes and pizzazz to locals and skeptical locals, and as well as enthusiastic crowds in the Australian interior. That movie was from 1994, and filmmaker Stephen Elliott has long bandied about the notion of a sequel, and it finally came together, and I guess Terrence Stamp was initially reluctant to reprise the role of Bernadette because he didn't want it to be just a rehashing of the first movie, but Elliott was able to pull it together in a way that Stamp wanted to be a part of it, and knowing that he was not getting any younger, he specifically wanted to make sure that he shot his scenes at Bernadette. And we will include the specific quote here from Elliott. This was in a write-up by Deadline, who had the exclusive break on the news. Terrence Stamp said, quote, "Just in case I don't make it to the start line," end quote. He wanted to get Bernadette back on film once again. So, it's just, what a career. It's so nice to know that he was protective, that Terrence Stamp, so well known for, movies like Far From the Madding Crowd and The Limey, which is, I think the aggro male, polar kind of opposite to the vibe of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. It's so beautiful to know that he it held that character in such regard that he wanted to protect it and make sure that he played her again. As according to the Deadline report, he was very wary of the AI creep that is happening in film and television. He did not want to be digitally reproduced playing the role. He wanted it to be him. He wanted it to be his old self. And he didn't want it to just be a recycling of a canned smash hit that it was in the 1990s. He wanted it to be something new and worthwhile. And he wanted that so much that he wanted to make sure, aware that he didn't have a lot of time left, that he was able to be captured as Bernadette before the end of the line. And so that I was looking forward to the notion of a Priscilla, Queen of the Desert 2 anyway, but knowing about the heartfelt intentions and dedication behind bringing it back to the screen, God, what are we at, 30 years later? Yeah, that's just really beautiful. And shouts out to Terrence Stamp for a legendary run and a legendary parting gift. And that is our show for the day. You can keep up with us wherever you get your podcasts. You can hit the follow button wherever you are listening right now to get every new episode in your feed as it drops. You can follow us on Instagram to find out more at Feeling Seen Pod. We are also on Blue Sky. Just search Feeling Seen. If you want to follow me, I am Jorcru on Twitter and randomly Blue Sky sometimes at JORCRU. Our theme music is by Andrew Epen. This episode was produced by Marissa Flaxbart. Our senior producers are Kevin Ferguson and Laura Swisher, and this is a production of Maximum Fun.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows,
supported
directly
by you.